Good afternoon. I would like to start thanking the organization for inviting me to talk about my preferred topic, which is SciELO. And we are a program that started in 1998, so we have 15 years of regular operation. We really have 16 years because we had one pilot year when we showed to our funding that the project were viable. So the objective of the project from the beginning until now and in the future is advancement of research locally published in national journals. They are published in national journals for several reasons. Okay, maybe because they are not enough good to be published outside, or because they are published in Spanish or Portuguese, which are more than 50% of the articles, or they have local interest in research that's much more, let's say, preferable to publish locally. One example is the agriculture in Brazil, which is one of the best in the world today. Most of the research development that transferred the knowledge was published in national journal in Portuguese. Okay, but so that is one example of the importance of it. So the functions of SciELO are indexing, so we receive submission of journals that want to be submitted, and we go through a very detailed process to index or not, to remain or not in the collection. We, in the case of Brazil, we evaluate already 1,300 journals, and we are operating now 270 as usual. So you do indexing in this sense, and we keep control of citation, so we can produce exactly the same indicators, terrible indicators like impact factor, that are produced by Thomson Reuters through JCR, so we can complement the journals that are not indexed there. And the third function is interoperability. So we make the journals and the article as visible as possible. So that where we can put links and put the journal, and so we do it. We work only with peer-reviewed journals, multidisciplinary, all areas, and multilingual. Multilingual in the sense that they are publishing only in Portuguese, or only in English, or in both languages. More and more journals are in some areas opting to publish simultaneously in both languages to attend both the local public and international. The rationality is library in the sense that we build collections, because the collection has much more potential to operate than to have the individual journals in the web, and the network operation to create a critical mass and the rational and getting scaling. The principles from the very beginning was fully open access, golden route without embargo. Okay, and that is the principle, remain it. And we started 3 years before the Budapest Declaration. So it's a pioneer. It was not easy, of course, but we started from the beginning with the open access model. So it's a network. We have now 16 countries that operate in national collection. We have now about 900 journals, 208,000 issues, 400,000 articles, 90 million bibliographic references in our bibliometric database, so we can measure what we cite, is important. And we have an extraordinary more than 1 million downloads per day. Okay? And only the Brazilian collection is 1.2 250,000 downloads per day. That's the reason we do not search, and people are just downloading here. So but 53% of the journals increased the impact factor in the last 2 years. And there is this web metrics portal that ranking, and SciELO Brazil is in first place, Chile in 9th place, Spain, Colombia, and so on. So it's very well present in the web. And in the Director of Open Access Journal, also Latin America has a nice presence. For example, Brazil is second place after United States. So Latin America is open access in terms of publishing. So if you go to Web of Science, 95% of our journals are open access. The governance and funding. It's a program, research program, with an umbrella of the São Paulo Research Foundation, which is FAPESP. São Paulo produces in Brazil 50% of the research of Brazil. And we have also the support for National Science Council. It's implemented through national collection. So Brazil has a national collection, Argentina, and so on. The management is totally decentralized. Funding is decentralized, the operation is decentralized, but all follow the same principles, standards, and technology. SciELO Brazil maintains the technology and the secretariat of the network, and we run meetings online every month and so on. Quality control to certify collections. So collections entering the network during a pilot phase, then they pass to a phase we call in development, and if they meet the requirement, they are certified. Right? Technical cooperation of the establishment of the principal network comes from the Latin American and Caribbean Center on Health Science Information, from Pan American Health Organization. And the principles come from UNESCO Information for All program. Funding. I will take the example of Brazil because it varies country by country. Okay? So Brazil has now 270 journals, 230,000 articles. SciELO costs for us $3 million per year. Okay? That's more or less. So we do the publication. What we do is aggregation. We receive the files from the publishers, and we do markup in XML, and we publish it then. Is funded through research grants, so I need to present every 2 years a project which is evaluated and goes through peer review and so on. 90% is funded by São Paulo Research Foundation. About 80% by the National Research. This is because the National Science Council funds more the actual public production of the journals, and the SciELO is funded to make the indexing and publication. We have an average today of $110 per new article. That is our model. Okay, of course, it varies with the changing value of article and the Brazilian currency, but we are working that. We plan to increase that to 150 to add new functions, mainly the development of a blog to do more marketing of the articles in the social networks and so on. 200 to $28 per article in the database. Journal funding, so the journals have their own funding mechanism. It varies journal by journal, is very fragmented. The only convergence that we have is SciELO, that do the indexing publishing. So part of the money comes from the institution responsible for the journal. part comes from a national program that is about $3 million per year that they divided among the journals. Author charge, more and more journals are charging the authors, okay, and of course this is connected to National Research Foundation and the state research foundation that pays for the article charge. And the publicity, some journals, mainly in the medical area, they win a lot of money doing publicity. Challenges, real critical problems, is journal management and operation. Okay, the main problem we have here is lack of professionalization. So we have been developing from 2 years now, and the next 3 years, a line of action that we call professionalization that has a series of developments. The second critical problem is journal insertion in the global flow of scientific information that we call lack of internationalization. Okay, so 100% of the Brazilian journals and probably 99% of the other countries have the editor-chief a Brazilian. 80 or 85% of the associate editors are Brazilians. Okay? Again, you have 80-85% of the reviewers are Brazilian. So it's nice, it's a big capital, but we have a problem with the internationalization. So this is a movement, not all journals, of course, I'm talking average. And some areas will be always fully national, and the others will be much more international. And the other issue is journal sustainability. We have a lack of funding policies to guarantee stable finance for, let's say, 3 years, 5 years, and so on. So our model works because our editors develop an extraordinary capacity to get $10 here, $20 there, so they have this mechanism to build every year their budget. But this is some neurotic in some way, so we are helping to create a mechanism to giving the editors a sustainable way to make the finance. Okay, linked to this or because of this, we have a terrible problem that our journals have a low impact as measured by impact factor. So most of your journal, 90%, are in the 34th quartile of distribution of impact factor. We have many reasons for that, of course, but we decided not to accept justifications, and we are trying to maximize that. One of the justifications is, for example, Brazilian journals, 50% of the articles, till recently, or more, let's say, less than 50% were published in English. And of course, if you have Portuguese, nobody will read in Portuguese internationally. It's not cited. So when we increased the number of articles published in Portuguese, in English, we started to increase the impact of the entire collection and particularly of each journal. So this year, or last year, 2012, for the first time, we got more than 50% of articles in English. Okay? So we had 52% of articles in English. We had 64% in Portuguese, and we have 16% simultaneously published in English Portuguese, which is a big effort, very, very expensive, but it's the way some areas like agriculture, health science, public health, and social sciences are doing, with the national and international publics. We have also a problem because of everybody or every journal is at the same time its publisher. So we don't have an editor and a publisher there. Everybody the editor takes care of everything. So we are trying to change this, and create scale with common services. So SciELO is providing, for example, access to Scholar One, to the journals, to internationalizing the submission of articles. So the program pays that, so is increasing these and the others. So let's go very very fast through the lines of action. 2 minutes. So when you say professionalization, we are trying to say that we will develop publisher-like functions without breaking what we consider a strength, the fact that the publication is decentralized. So everybody knows in some way how to do publishing, but because they do not have scale, we have a problem. So how to create scale and at the same time have this decentralization, okay? So internationalization, as I said, and so editorial function, we are providing services for submission, for editing in full HTML, and what I said before, trying to increase the marketing using social networks and so on. Internationalization, we did a contract with Thomson Reuters to operate SciELO in Web of Knowledge platform. So we will be able to search SciELO as you search Web of Science, and the most important for us, we will be able to count citations from both databases. Okay, so that is, we have a high percentage of journals that are based in domestic citations, for example, public health journal, agriculture journals, social science journals, and you have some journals that are more internationally in terms of citations. So when we have the bibliometric indicator for SciELO, they are not good, and when we look at the indicators from Web of Science, they are not good for the others. So the idea is to put all together and make a comprehensive counting of citations. As I said before, we are also promoting, trying to promote a balance of the use of Portuguese, Spanish, and English. So we are trying to raise this discussion, so the authors and societies and the communities, of course, will decide when the journal should be published only in English, should be published only in Portuguese, or in both languages. Financial sustainability, the idea is to provide state-of-the-art public services in all the editorial process and the publication to lessen the cost, fix the cost of the journal, and at the same time increase the quality and lessen the prices, okay? Because we can, if you do your journal by yourself, the prices go there. If we have all the journals using the same services, we can have a state-of-the-art service with less price. It's very complex to do this, but we are succeeding because all the journals, they have their history, they have the people that also. Okay, and then we are trying to strengthen the establishment of the charging cost per article, because the funding of the journals in Brazil and Latin America is done by government agencies, and they say, okay, you are a good journal, you receive this, okay? You are a not so good journal, you receive this. You are published only this, you receive. So it's not based on projects that the journals do in the future, or say, you do this and this and this, give me money to achieve that. There is no kind of accountability of the money. So when you move the funding of the journals to the authors so they can decide which journal they put the money, we think that we will provoke the journals to become more competitive and developing better their capacity. So that's it. Thank you.